Hey guys, welcome back to my channel, and today we are going to be going through all the books that I own. Every single one. Well, not every single one. I am going to miss out a few kind of miscellaneous, not really relevant books. Ones that I'm probably not really going to read that are just kind of sat in my room. But I'm going to go through the more popular book talk, kind of known about books, and maybe some other ones that you might not know about that I personally really like. So this is probably going to be a long video, so let's just not waffle and let's just get on with the video. The first series of books is the collection by Chloe Walsh. I feel like everyone who is on Book Talk at the moment knows about these books. I might be a little bit late to the game reading these, but I saw Esme Ingham talk about these and I honestly had to get my hands on them, so I picked up the whole series. I picked up the first, second, third, fifth and sixth one on Sunday, but I actually couldn't find the fourth one, so I went into town today and I did manage to pick it up. So I am reading Binding 13 at the moment. I can't put it down. I cannot put it down. I've been in a little bit of a reading slump at the moment, seeing as I've just finished my A-levels, but this has got me back into reading, guys. I'm pacing myself with this because I don't want to read it too quick, because I've seen people say that they really do struggle to read another book after this and find it really good because nothing lives up to this series. So there is Binding 13, Keeping 13, then we have Saving 6, Redeeming 6, this is the one that I picked up today, then we have Taming 7 and Releasing 10. I'm pretty sure this one is quite new because it was more expensive than the other 5, and I was a bit confused as to why it was more expensive, but I think it's because it's newer than the other 5. The next series is the Lancaster Prep series. I picked this up today. I actually went to the bookshop, I went to the Works today and got the entire series for £20. I thought that was insane. So this is not in the correct order, but we have Promises We Meant to Keep, Things I Wanted to Say. I actually already have this, but I have it in the other cover. I couldn't find this series in the original cover, so I just got these covers instead. A Million Kisses in Your Lifetime. This is the one that was trending on TikTok a while ago that kind of made me want to read this series. I'll Always Be With You and You Said I Was Your Favourite. I think you can read these as standalones, but I'm going to try and read them in order just because I don't want anything to be spoiled for me. The next two are The Summer I Turned Pretty. Now the reason I don't have the third is because I bought the TV cover when I bought the first one because I preferred it to the other cover. So I had to wait until series 2 came out to buy the matching cover, so I'm now having to wait until season 3 comes out to buy the third one. But season 3 is coming out really soon, so thankfully I can buy the matching cover. I'm definitely going to be reading these over the summer. I have actually already read this one, and I started this one last summer, but I don't know why, but I just never finished it. It wasn't that I didn't like it, it was just I never got around to reading it. So these will be on this summer's to read list because they're just such summery books. I mean, it's literally in the name. It's literally in the name. Now, the next set of books, it's not a series, but I thought I would just talk about them together because they're all by the same author. You probably know who these books are by if you know me at all. Every single thing that Ali Hazelwood has ever written. I own, apart from one, I own everything that Ali Hazelwood has ever written. I will do them in order because it makes more sense to do them in order. So we have The Love Hypothesis. This has a very special place in my heart. This was the book that got me into reading when I was like 15, and as a science lover myself, I felt that there was just enough science content in this as well as romance. It will always be my number one book just because it got me into reading. It was what kind of got me into Book Talk books. We then have Love on the Brain, one of the only books I ever tabbed, actually. I never highlighted it, and also you can tell that I did not know how to tab books when I did this because what is this system? We then have Love Theoretically. This is a more physicsy book. Then we have Loathe to Love You. This is 3 novellas put into one. So there's Under One Roof, Stuck With You and Below Zero. I read this in 2 days. This was honestly one of my favourite books of hers, or I guess 3 books. This was so good. These 3 books were so good. I don't know what it was about these 3 books, but they're obviously very different books, but they are all linked. Next is Check and Mate. I haven't actually read this yet. I have not gotten around to reading it, but it is a chess kind of book. It is a YA book, so that's probably why I haven't gone around to reading it yet. I'm not huge on YA books. I think it's just because sometimes I find that the way that it's written is a little bit not quite my style of writing, but because it's by Ali Hazelwood, I know that it will be something that I'll enjoy reading. So this is definitely on my summer list because look how pretty that cover is. I mean, if that just doesn't scream summer to you, I don't know what does. Then we have Not in Love. This one, I screamed when I heard about this. I was so excited. This is also quite a biology based one. The cover is interesting. It's very awkward to read this in public, I will just say. And last but not least, we have Bride. Now this is very different to her books that she's written before, but I still decided to pick it up when it came out because I thought, well, I love Ali Hazelwood's style of writing. I probably will like this. I haven't gotten around to reading it yet. I think I'm going to save this for autumn. I wouldn't really say that this screams summer to me, so I think I will be saving this for around Halloween, kind of autumn, because this is definitely an autumn type of book. The next collection of books is also not a series, but it is by the same author. These are all the Colleen Hoover books I have. I think I might have one more in a hardback, but that's over with my hardback books. I have tabbed a few of these. So the first one that we have is Ugly Love. I read this in 2 days. A friend recommended this to me when I was like 16, and it was one of the best books I have ever read. Now I know that there's a little bit of controversy around Colleen Hoover, but I feel as though we should separate the art from the artist, or the book from the author, I guess, in this sense. I really like her books, and I know a lot of people don't read her books because of their opinions on people. I will read a book if I like the book. I don't care who wrote it, I don't care anything about them. I want to read the content in the book, so that's why I still read Colleen Hoover. I really love this. Also, this cover, why have they changed the cover? Why have they changed the cover? I went into Tesco a few weeks ago and I noticed that they had changed the cover. I think they've gotten rid of the bubbles on the front, and I was so mad. I mean, I wasn't that mad because I already own it, but I was so mad because it just didn't look as pretty as this cover. So I have tabbed this. Now I think this is a little bit more well tabbed than my other one, but I still don't feel like there was much coding system to it. I don't tab my books anymore just because I feel like I just want to read them. I have nothing against people that tab them. I think if you tab your books, that's great, but it's just not my style of how I read. We then have It Ends With Us. I started tabbing this, but I gave up because I just wanted to read the book. I loved this, and in my personal opinion, I feel like the film lived up to the hype. I mean, the costuming was questionable, but I really liked the film, and I feel like the film was very book accurate. I really liked this as a whole. I thought that it was a really good book. I have my opinions on the second one. My second one is somewhere. It's a hardback one, so it's over there. I did not like the second one. I really did not like the second one. I did finish it, but I didn't like it. I just thought that they could have just not done a second one. I think they did not need to do a second one. The second one didn't ruin the first one for me, thankfully, but didn't need a second one. I think it was fine as a standalone. Next we have Never Never. Now I kept putting this off. I think I got this for Christmas a couple of years ago, and I don't know why, but I kept putting it off because it was back when I didn't read thriller, mystery, crime. This isn't really crime, but literally all I read was romance. So when I found out that this was kind of thriller-like, I was kind of put off by it. But I did read it this year and it did not disappoint. I mean, this book, it has 2 authors. It's by Colleen Hoover and Taryn Fisher. And I don't think I've ever read a book that's by 2 authors, so it was quite interesting to read. Next we have November 9th. I have also read this, although I read it a while ago, so I've kind of forgotten what it was about, but I remember really liking it. So I don't really have much to say about this one, but again, gorgeous cover. If I were to read this again, would definitely read it in the summer. Then we have All Your Perfects. I haven't read this yet, but one of my friends has read this and she says that it is very, very good and that I need to get on and read it. So this might be one of my next reads. The last one is Verity. Now this was so good. When I bought this, I thought it was a romance. It wasn't really. It was more thriller. And if you kind of look at the cover, you can kind of tell that it's not necessarily a romance one, but I thought this was really good. Again, I feel like this would be a good leeway into Colleen Hoover if you've never read anything of hers before. Okay, we're now on to the next shelf of my book cart, and we are starting off strong with the Good Girl's Guide to Murder series. I remember reading this. I think I read this in year 10 or year 11, so quite a while ago, but I really liked this. I thought it was really, really good. In my opinion, I don't think the show did it justice, but that's just my opinion. I always think that the books are better than the TV adaptation, apart from one, but I will talk about that later. This series is so good. I think this is a good introduction to thriller if you are younger. I think, at least the first one anyway, the first one I'm pretty sure, correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm pretty sure that the first one is YA. I will check that though. But I haven't actually read the second and third one. Don't come for me, I know, but I haven't read the second and third one. I haven't got around to it. And I think because the first one was so good, I really put off the second and third one because I just didn't want anything to ruin the first one for me. So that's why I haven't gone around to reading the second and third one yet. The next series, or I guess some of these aren't a series, but they're by the same author, is One of Us is Lying and Other Assorted Books by Karen McManus. So we have the One of Us is Lying series. I'm pretty sure these are the only ones in it. I can't remember if this is in the series or not, but this one and this one, they are definitely part of the same series. Ooh, there's so much dust. If you can see dust at the moment, I have not sorted out my bookshelf in a while and they've gotten a little bit dusty. But these two are definitely in the same series and I read these a long time ago. But I do remember what happens because I have seen the show. The show was really good. Again, I do feel like the books were better than the show, but these are very, very good. I think, again, I'm gonna check, but I'm pretty sure these are also YA books. So if you are a little bit younger, like 14, 15, these are probably another good starter thriller books because they're not hardcore thriller, but they do have like a element of mystery to them. Now, these three are also by Karen McManus, and I have read this one, but I have not yet read these two. I love these spines. That's not the spine. These pages. The pages. I love how they're all coloured. I think that these would be really pretty to shelve like this, but I do keep mine like this because all my books have the spines showing. Everybody who is active on BookTok knows these books. It is the Dreamland Billionaire series. I have read the first one, but I have not yet read the second two. The only thing that annoys me about these books is the spines. Why do they not match? Why is the number not there? I, again, tabbed this one. I don't feel as though there was much method to it. I think I was just tabbing parts that I liked. But I feel like these were the first kind of books that I saw on BookTok and bought because I'd seen so many but I had never bought them, but these were the first ones on BookTok that I really bought. Next we have two Alice Osman books. Now I have read some of the Heartstopper series but I don't own any of them. I only got them from the library, but I did buy these two. I think I got them from The Works a while ago. I have read Solitaire but I haven't yet read Loveless, so I do need to read that. And again, oh no, I have read Loveless and I haven't read Solitaire, and I did also tab this one. Now we have a few standalone books that aren't really a part of a series or I don't own the series. First we have Lover Girl by Reagan. I'm not even going to try and pronounce her last name, but Love a girl. This is a poetry book, and I've actually followed her on TikTok for a very, very long time, and when she said that she was going to release a poetry book, I obviously had to get it, and the illustrations in this are so gorgeous. That is one of the main reasons why I got it. I really like this. Then we have Wings of Starlight. I went around Manchester trying to find this. I went to every single Waterstones trying to find this, and I finally got my hands on it. It was right after it had been released, so it was so hard to get my hands on, but I got it. It is the prequel to Tinkerbell, and it is about Queen Clarion. And this cover, I just want to talk about this cover for a minute. It is iridescent, it is shiny, it is gorgeous. It's just, it's everything. And we are now onto the last shelf of my book cart. We still have my entire bookshelf, but this is just my book cart. So the next books that we have are the American Roommate Experiment and the Spanish Love Deception. Now, I have read this one, but I haven't actually yet read this, but this obviously is very clearly a summer book. So let's just say that I have been saving it for summer. I will definitely be reading this over the next few months. Then a few standalones I have With This Kiss. This cover is so gorgeous. I love the iridescent words. I cannot actually remember what this is about. I remember I picked it up a while ago, but I haven't actually yet read it. Then we have Things We Never Got Over. If you're on Book Talk, you probably heard about this a while ago. I'm very, very late to the game to read this. I haven't read it yet, but I know that there's 2 more, and I don't know if they're linked to this book or if they're just by the same author. These are by Lucy Score. But again, I feel like this is kind of a summery book, or maybe a spring book. Maybe I'll save it for spring. And then we have A Brush with Love. I have actually read this, and I really enjoyed this. It kind of reminded me a little bit of an Ali Hazelwood book, so that's probably why I enjoyed it. Then the next series is the After series. I did watch the films before I read these, because when I watched the films I didn't realise that they were books. I'm not entirely sure where the first one is. I do have it, but it's probably somewhere in my room. These covers are not discreet. These are really hard to read in public, and also they're very big books. I mean, who's fitting that in their bag? But we have, these are not in order by the way, After We Fell, After Ever Happy, After We Collided, which I feel like is the one that everyone's heard of. And then we have Before, which I really don't know what this is about because there's no film about this yet. So I'm not entirely sure what this is about, but the cover is very different to the other ones, even though I got it in the same set. So I guess we'll find out when I read it. Then lastly on this shelf is some of my Kathy Reach collection. These are all in the same series. There's like 25 books in this series. I do not own them all. I think I have about 18. We have Spider Bones, The Bone Code, Flash and Bones, A Conspiracy of Bones, and Bones Never Lie. And if you can't tell, these are the original books that inspired the show Bones, but I have read the first one. I've read part of the first one so far and I love them. They are about a forensic anthropologist called Temperance Brennan, and all of the books are to do with her. I do have quite a few more, but they're on a different shelf because they are smaller, these books. Next we are moving on to books on my bookshelf, and starting strong we have Delilah Green Doesn't Care and Iris Kelly Doesn't Date. I have read this one, but I haven't yet read this one because I actually picked this up recently. Now these books are linked because all the girls are friends, but I really liked the first one, so I have very high hopes for the second one. Then we have a lot of standalone books. I feel like the majority of my standalone books go on that shelf. So we have One Last Stop, Secretly Yours by Tessa Bailey, Lessons in Chemistry. This is again one of my favourite books, probably you know why, because it is sciencey, and I did read the book before I watched the show, thankfully, but I do think that the show really lived up to this. I mean, obviously the book is still better, but the show was very, very accurate, I would say. Then we have the Soulmate Equation, the Intimacy Experiment, the Kiss Quotient. I could do a whole video on why I think this book is incredible, but we'll save that for another day because this is about to be a very, very long video, so I won't waffle too much. But just look how like detailed the cover is, like all of the little like maths in the background. The cheat sheet, the fake mate, the hating game. I have seen the film already and I haven't read this yet, but the film just kept getting recommended to me on Netflix, so whatever it was, it kept getting recommended, so I did cave and watch the film. And I did like the film, and I'm hoping that the book lives up to that. And then we have all the Hannah Grace books. I think these are all the books she's ever written. We have Icebreaker, Wildfire, and Daydream. I picked this up very recently, so I haven't read this yet. And I also haven't read Icebreaker because, I mean, I'm not going to be reading that in summer. That's going to be a winter book, so I'm going to save that for winter. But I did read Wildfire last summer and I really loved it. The next two that I have are from the Twisted series. I don't have the whole series, and I'm mad that I don't have the whole series because I like to have the whole series even if I hadn't read them. But we have Twisted Love. I read this in like 3 days. It is one of my favourite romance books. It is so well written. I thought that the story was incredible and the cover is so pretty. Then we have Twisted Lies. I actually did start this, but I haven't finished it yet. And again, I do think that the cover is so pretty. I think the cover might even be better than Twisted Love, but I don't have the other two, and I'm really mad that I don't have the other two, but I know that I need to not spend my entire money on books. The next books that I have are these three by Elsie Silver. Now I only have these three, but I know that there are 5 in this series. I don't think, to my knowledge, I don't think that these are linked, and I think you can read them in any order, which is good. But I have Flawless, Powerless and Heartless, and I just love these covers. And I'm sure there is a name for this series, but I cannot pinpoint what it is, so if you know, let me know in the comments what this series is called. But I have heard nothing but good things about these books, so I feel like some of these books might be summer books, so fingers crossed I get around to these in summer. Then we have a bunch of standalone books. So we have Daisy Jones and the Six. I haven't watched the show yet. I don't know why. It came out a long time ago, but I haven't watched it yet. So I definitely have that to read. Then we have She Gets the Girl. Then we have The Night Shift by Annie Crown. This was, again, probably one of my favourite romance books I ever did read. I don't know why this has such a special place in my heart, but it just does. You know when you just read a book and you're like, I just know that I'm gonna remember this book for a very long time? That is how I felt with this book. That's how I felt. And I think about this book. I think about this book daily. I don't know why. Because it wasn't even one that was trending. I just saw it in the shop and I was like, that looks cute. Let's read that. And it was. It was cute. Next we have The Philosophy of Love. Again, I haven't read this yet, and I also haven't heard that much about this. I don't know. It gives me the vibe that it's a book talk book, but it's not. Or to my knowledge, it's not. So I do want to read this and see if it kind of lives up to the expectations that I've put onto it. Then we have Where the Crawdads Sing. Now I've been told to read this because apparently it is the most brilliantly written, gorgeous, beautiful, amazing book. So I think this might have to be a summer read because, I mean, just look at that. I have seen the film, I will admit. But I watched the film, I think I watched the film with my family, so I think we can give me a little bit of credit there for watching the film before reading the book. Then have My Mechanical Romance. This is, to my knowledge, a YA book, I think. I started reading this 2 years ago. I've had it for a while. I started reading this 2 years ago, but then I kind of fell out of reading, so I didn't finish it. It has gone really dark. I'm gonna turn on a light because it's gone very dark. Of course, as soon as I turn on the light, the sun comes back out. Brilliant. Then we have Love in the Time of Serial Killers. I read this last year And it did take me a little bit to get through because I think the story was a little bit confusing to me, like I was a little bit confused at times, but it was a really good book. I can't remember what I rated this, but I did really like it. It's not like anything that I've ever read before, so I think that's probably why it took me a while to get through. I feel like once I got into it, I was like, okay, yeah, I get this now, and then it only took me like a day. Moving on to the next shelf, this is my fantasy slash thriller. I don't know what genre you would put these books into, but it is the Miss Peregrine series. I think these are fantasy. I don't really know what category I would put them in, but I have the first 4. Now you're probably like, Izzy, there's 5 books there, and you're correct, but I have 2 copies of the first one. I have the original cover and I have the movie cover. I saw the movie before I read the book, but I saw the movie when I was like 10, so I feel like that's okay. I definitely shouldn't have seen the movie when I was 10 because it definitely creeped me out a bit, but I have read the first book and it is very similar to the film, apart from the fact that they switched 2 of the characters' powers in the film, which is so annoying. Like why would you do that? But everything else was pretty similar. But they did switch 2 of the characters' powers, and I'm just so confused as to why. Anyway, then we have this series by Holly Black, the Folk of the Air trilogy. The only reason I know that is because it says it on the back. I haven't read any of these yet, I know. But we have The Cruel Prince, The Wicked King, and The Queen of Nothing. I've heard very good things, at least about the first one, so I think this might end up being either a summer or an autumn read. So we have the trilogy of those, and then we have the Shatter Me series. I do also have the novellas, but I don't know where they are. But we have Shatter Me, Unravel Me, Ignite Me, Defy Me, and Restore Me. As I said, I do have the novellas, but I don't know where they are, which is a bit annoying. But I love these covers. I love the eye. I think that's really cool. And I know that there's a new one that has just come out. I saw it today. I think it's called Watch Me or something like that. So I would definitely like to get that when I've read this series. I've read the first 2 from this series and I really like them. I think they're a very good introduction to fantasy kind of. Again, I don't know what genre to put these in because I don't know, is this fantasy? I don't know. But I feel like if you are looking to step out of the romance books and into something different, I would say that Shatter Me is probably the good way to go. Now the next shelf is kind of a mix of everything because there's some romance but some fantasy on here. So the first romance is If He Had Been With Me. Now if you know this book, guys, this is a heartbreaker, this book. There's no spoilers in this video, but this is a heartbreaker. I really, 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 really want to read the other one that is from Finney's point of view, but I just have not had it in me to buy it yet because I think I'm still traumatised from this one, to be honest. But this is one of my favourite books. It's so well written. The cover is gorgeous. And yeah, I'm gonna have to reread that at some point, but I am still so heartbroken from the first time that I read it. So I think I'm just gearing myself up to reading it again. Then we have Six of Crows and Crooked Kingdom. I got this at a charity shop on Sunday. I found it at the charity shop. Well, actually, my mum found it at a charity shop and she was like, don't you have the first one? I was like, yes, I do have the first one. And I haven't read the first one, but do I need the second one? Yes, of course I need the second one. So I feel like these are going to be autumn reads. These don't scream summer to me, but these will get read because I feel like I've heard that these are a good way into fantasy. There's not too much world building going on in these. So I feel like it's going to be a little bit easier as someone who doesn't really read fantasy very often. Then I have the Atlas 6. I think I got this for Christmas a couple of years ago. I haven't read it yet, and I think this is also a fantasy one. So I think I'm just gearing myself up to reading fantasy because I'm so used to reading like romance, crime, thriller. Like those are my prime genres that I read. I don't really branch out of those, so I feel like this could either be an autumn or a winter read. I'm gonna have to take all these to uni with me. The next series that I have, the School for Good and Evil series. I have all the books because I watched the film once and got obsessed with it and loved it, and I still love it. I've read the first one. I used to have 2 copies of this and I don't know where my other copy has gone. But anyway, I have The School for Good and Evil, A World Without Princes, A Crystal of Time, The Last Ever After, One True King, and Quest for Glory. I don't know if those are in the correct order. I think they might be in the wrong order, but I do need to carry on reading this series. I kind of stopped reading these at the end of year 12. I don't know why. I think I got too busy with my mock exams in year 12 and just stopped reading them, but I do need to carry on reading these because I feel like these are a type of fantasy that I can really get into. Next we have a few more standalones, and I think we have a few series as well. The first one is Tell It to the Bees. I love this film and the book. I watched the film, realised it was based off a book, read the book and loved it even more. It is set in the 1950s, I think, which isn't a usual read for me. I don't really like anything that's set any more than 20 years ago, really. But this was very surprising and I'm so surprised that I love this book. Then we have After Love. I didn't buy this too long ago, but I haven't read it yet. And the cover is so, the colours of the cover, gorgeous. I have one standalone Colleen Hoover book that didn't fit on my book cart. We have Confess. I loved this. This was probably one of my favourite Colleen Hoover books, especially because in the middle, if I can actually open it, it has all this artwork in the middle. The story of this, again, this is very spoiler free, so I'm not even really gonna talk about what it's about, but I just really loved this. I thought it was a really good story. I think it was one of her best books, and again, gorgeous cover. Then we have The Devil Wears Prada. Then we have some classics. I don't own a lot of classics. I think I own about like 5 or 6 maybe. So we have Dracula, Shirley by Charlotte Bronte, The Scarlet Letter, which I actually have read some of this. I don't think I've finished it, but I've read some of it. Jane Eyre by Charlotte Bronte, and this gorgeous edition of Frankenstein. I got this from TK Maxx. Their book selection is always so great, but it has this little bookmark and it has gold detailing on it and it is just so pretty. It makes me not want to read it because I don't want to ruin the cover. Then we have The Secret History. I had been looking for this everywhere for a while and then I finally got it. I think I've read just under half. See, I have this problem with books where I start them but then I never finish them. But then it makes me not want to go back and finish them because then I don't want to start from the start. Well, I really love the cover of this. I think that it's a really cool cover. I know there's not much going on, but I thought it was a really nice cover, and the story itself is supposed to be very, very good. Then we have Cleopatra and Frankenstein, and this was on Book Talk for a while, I think, but I didn't end up getting it until after the whole Book Talk stuff about it. And I know that there is a second one by this author and I've seen it in shops, but I decided not to get it just yet because I haven't read this one, so I need to read this one. And I love the cover of this. Again, I swear I've said this for every book, but I love the cover. The next ones are We Are Liars and Family of Liars. Now, if you're on TikTok at the moment, you know that Prime Video has just brought out the series of We Are Liars. I'm so hooked on it. I mean, I know what happens. I know what happens. But because I haven't read it in like 2 years, I've kind of forgotten what happened in it. So I'm so hooked on the series. I think I'm either at the end of episode 6 or the start of episode 7. But I am pacing myself with it because I read this in I think 3 days and I read this in 1 day last summer. And this is the prequel to this one. So this is about the parents and this is about the kids. I would highly recommend this series. I don't know what genre you would put this in. This one is kind of romance, but I don't really know what genre I'd put this in. It's just kind of the prequel to this one. Then we have Everything Everything. I watched the film of this when I was quite young. I can't remember when. And then I realised that it was a book, and I obviously had to pick it up, and there's some parts of it. There are loads of little illustrations in this, and I think somewhere there's part of a map, but there's like these really cool illustrations in it, and I really like that, and I also really like the cover. We then have the Inheritance games. I haven't read these. I haven't read these yet. I've had them for an embarrassingly long amount of time to have not read them, but I think these ones especially, because they were on BookTok for a while, I think I kind of put off reading them. When things are on BookTok, you get mixed opinions about them, so I think I must have been on the side of TikTok that didn't like these books. But then recently I've started hearing people talk about how much they do like these books, so I think I might have to try and read these during the summer. We then have Undoctored by Adam Kay. This is kind of a rogue book on this shelf. I'm not entirely sure why it's on this shelf. This probably should be on my bottom shelf with all my science books, but this is by Adam Kay. It's by the same person who wrote This Is Going to Hurt, which was also a show. I think it was on BBC. I have seen it and I have read it as well. I have 2 copies of This Is Going to Hurt. I don't know where they are though. Then we have Girl in Pieces and You Be Home By Now. These were heartbreaking books. I read this a couple of years ago and I read this last year. They both broke my heart. I mean, the covers are kind of initiating that it's not going to be a happy book, but I don't know. I wasn't expecting this. They were so good though. Like they were, I would highly recommend. I mean, they do have some kind of sensitive topics in them, so I would definitely read into what they're about before you buy them, but apart from that I would say that these are very, very well written. And also, I don't know what it is about the covers, but the covers are very different to other books. I really like them. They like feel different. And the last one from this shelf are They Both Die at the End. I haven't read this, but I'm taking by the title that They Both Die at the End. Maybe, I don't know. But I haven't read it. I know that there's a second one. I don't know if it's the second one, but it's by the same author. But this was trending a while ago, and I think I must have picked it up when it was trending, but then I never got around to reading it. So this, I don't know if this is a summer read, but I will get around to reading this. And after what feels like about 100 years of showing you guys my books, that is pretty much all my books. I do have some more, but I feel like those were the kind of ones that you guys would know and the ones that I talk about the most. Because if we went through all my books, we'd probably be here for like 100 years. But I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and this was all of my fiction books. So I obviously do have some science books, and I feel like if you guys want, I can do a whole separate video on my science related books, but this was all my fiction books. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and I will see you guys next time.